Welcome, freshmen. So, if you're sitting in this Introduction to Management course right now, you probably think you already know how to communicate. I mean, you've been talking your whole life, right? But in this explainer, we're going to completely reframe everything you think you know. We're going to look at communication not just as simply talking, but as a highly mechanical, step-by-step survival tool. Because in the business world, this is the exact mechanism that literally makes or breaks an entire organization.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is your roadmap for today. We'll start with what communication actually is, break down the anatomy of a message, and then introduce the main villain of our story, noise. After that, we'll cover internal versus external purposes, and finally, why this is your absolute ultimate management tool.
Section 1. What is communication? The foundation.
All right, here is a foundational concept you are absolutely going to see on your exams. Effective communication isn't just about moving your lips or, hitting send on an email. The definition is incredibly strict. It's a process where the message received is close in meaning to the message intended. It is all about the guaranteed transfer of understanding. If they didn't understand what you meant, well, you didn't effectively communicate. You just made noise. Fun fact, to put this into perspective, poor communication is estimated to cost large companies billions of dollars every single year in lost revenue, mistakes, and inefficiencies. It's an incredibly expensive problem to have.
For this transfer of understanding to even get off the ground, there are 3 strict non-negotiable conditions. First up, you need at least 2 people, a sender and a receiver. Makes sense, right? Second, you must actually have information, a fact or an opinion to share. And third, there has to be a genuine attempt to transmit it. If literally any of these 3 are missing, communication simply doesn't exist.
Moving on to Section 2, Anatomy of a Message, the mechanics.
Let's do a bit of an autopsy on how a single message is actually built. There are 4 linear stages. It starts with step 1, conceiving a meaningful idea. Basically, you have a thought. Step 2 is translating that idea into an understandable form, which we call encoding. Think about it this way. The way you encode a text message to your management professor asking for an extension is going to be vastly different from how you encode a text to your best friend asking for a favor. It's the same base idea, but an entirely different encoding process. Step 3 is transmitting that encoded message through a channel, like the airwaves, a printed page, or a phone line. And finally, step 4 is the receiver decoding that message via their senses and translating it back into meaning.
But communication rarely just stops at step 4. Once the receiver decodes the message, that meaning usually prompts the response. So the receiver then becomes the sender, encoding their own reply and transmitting it back to you. What started as a simple one-way street instantly turns into this continuous, cyclical, two-way loop.
All right, Section 3, the problem with noise, the saboteur. Every hero needs a villain, and in management, noise is the ultimate bad guy. Noise is quite literally anything that distorts your message. Because it interferes with understanding, keeping noise down to an absolute minimum isn't just a good idea. It's a primary active duty of a manager.
And here is the most dangerous part of the whole shebang. Noise can occur at literally any stage of the communication process to distort your message. It could be an overly complicated vocabulary choice during the encoding phase, a totally spotty cellular connection during transmission, or even just a loud distraction on the receiver's end. Let's reiterate our ultimate rule here. If the message your employee received doesn't perfectly match the message you intended to send, noise has successfully sabotaged your operation.
Let's zoom out for Section 4. Internal versus external purposes, the big picture.
So looking at the macro level now, the theorist Chester I. Barnard viewed communication as the essential glue of an entire enterprise. It is the exact means by which people are linked together to achieve a common purpose. Internally, communication is how you spread your enterprise objectives, how you inspire your team, and how you organize your resources. Without it, group activity is completely impossible.
Think of it as 2 distinct environments you have to navigate as a leader. On the internal side, your purposes involve disseminating goals, leading, motivating, and controlling performance. Then, on the external side, your purposes rely entirely on communication to interact with the outside world. Talking to stockholders, customers, and governments.
Customers, suppliers, stockholders, local communities. Think about it. A manager only becomes aware of the claims, needs, and regulations of these external entities purely through communication. It is the absolute only way an organization can facilitate exchanges of information with its surrounding environment to stay alive.
Finally, Section 5, the ultimate management tool, Mintzberg and management.
Let's tie everything we've just discussed directly back to your core curriculum. The famous researcher Henry Mintzberg observed that a manager's job actually consists of interpersonal, decisional, and informational roles. And guess what? Every single one of these roles requires the use of communication. Whether you're interacting with peers, seeking info to make a tough decision, or disseminating that decision to your team, you are relying entirely on this tool.
As freshmen, you should definitely note this down for your upcoming exams. The basic management functions, planning, organizing, motivation, leading, and controlling are directly dependent on communication. Establish workplace standards, monitor performance, take corrective action, genuinely lead subordinates. All of these are literally impossible without the ability to encode, transmit, and properly decode meaning.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. As future managers, how much noise are you creating in your own daily interactions right now? Are you truly transferring understanding, or are you just talking? Start looking at your daily conversations with professors, friends, and colleagues as managerial test runs. Pay attention to the mechanics, eliminate those saboteurs, and make sure your intended meanings are the ones truly being received. Until next time, keep learning and keep explaining.